in the world of Facebooks. Welcome.
Wow. What is
It
this?
looks so different.
Oh, wow. What's that meme of that little blonde-haired kid? Oh, wow. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you. I feel welcomed. Welcome, Kimberly.
Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. It just wouldn't be Thursday without ops experts. So
And you'll always have us. We're just now, in the Facebook group instead of getting to see your face every time. So I'm so excited that we get to have you on today. So we get to see your face again.
Well,
Happy
to
to
kick
be
it
here.
off, if anybody is currently watching or is watching in the future, this is Kimberly. Thanks for joining us, Kimberly. It's like you've been here before. Why don't you give us a quick rundown of who you are, who you work for, what you do, and your favorite type of cookie.
Okay. So my name is Kimberly Ramirez. I am the integrator for the Rainmaker family. It's kind of like being the operational yin to the visionaries yang, if you're not sure what the integrator is. So that's kind of my role over there. And I love it so much. I love our company and our team. I'm also a mom of many. So I've got 6 children, 5 still at home, grandbaby on the way in January. So making sure that we are fruitful in multiplication there. And then let's see, my favorite cookie, any cookie that is not due to the 4-H office by 12, when I have a child to pick up also by 12 and an interview at 12.
Oh, that's great. Wait, so
not sugar cookies, not today.
You all are in 4-H?
My children are going to, say hi? This is Bella. My children are going to Magnolia Bend Academy locally, which is it's like a homeschool tutoring program 3 days a week, and it's heavenly. And they so graciously enrolled all my little clover buds into 4-H. So lots of extracurricular activities, but never fear, ops friends. We, as of this evening, will have a Google form with a QR code at our school desk here at the house that must be filled out if anyone wants to participate in any event moving forward. And there will be some boundaries there.
Wow.
Great. I was in 4-H, until I was 14, I think. And I know that world. I'm sure my parents loved it too. Hey, paid for my braces though as a kid, so it had its pros.
Okay. All right. I'm feeling better about the cookie contest.
Fun fact, that's how my husband trained his dogs. He just had 4-H class with his dogs, would just take them. And then his parents didn't have to worry about getting the puppies trained because they just handled it at 4-H, and then they had well-behaved dogs.
That's pretty
okay. Cool. All right. You're winning me over. This is how I paid for the fair. Until I was in my 20s, I would enter stuff in the 4-H contest, and then with my entry winnings, I would pay for the fair bracelet or bracelets.
Yep.
Depending on.
I did sheep showing 4-H, so I was livestock. It was a grand old time. Enough about me. Oh, so when did you join Rainmakers, Kimberly?
I joined Rainmakers in 2020, from the bottom of the pipeline, the bottom of the funnel. I came in as a challenger, did the 7-day Rainmaker challenge, went through the process, joined the high ticket offer, which at that time was a lot different than it is now. One moment, please.
She's like, I gotta bake some cookies.
She's waving my fake nails into the camera and my nail glue, so that's real classy. So yeah, that was the process, and then I joined the higher ticket offer, and I started my own Amazon business using that process, and we saw success in that time. And in 2020, I joined in February of 2020. By February of 2021, our business had already reached the 6-figure mark, and it was mind-blowing because the rest of the world was kind of imploding on itself, and our businesses were just snowballing. So it was crazy. And of course I was sold, and love the community, love Steven and Chelsea. So that helped. But you know what? You can just take those to your sister and glue them on. Just get after it. Yes, ma'am. Okay. So I won't have pinky nails, but yeah. So yeah, that was my journey into Rainmakers as like a student. And then so I had a coach, ended up buying his Rainmaker business. And so yeah, we focused on growing our businesses. I started coaching with the Rainmaker community, did the disc profile. Turns out not really coach material, but we made it work for a while. And we learned so much along the way, but it kind of I started doing, like, Steven found some other opportunities for me, and I started doing some other things, and it started to click, like, oh, that's what I'm here to do, So I'm grateful for the experiences of like all the things, because it certainly helped me. And if you're ever in an ops seat, don't think you won't be doing any coaching. That's 80% of the job, right, Taryn?
Don't think you won't be doing anything. I mean, you're going to do a little bit of everything at some point.
That's true. Yeah.
Ops becomes like the putty that just kind of like fills in the cracks to make sure that everything's, running smooth.
Isn't it though?
I'm curious as to what got you into the position you are. Was it just like over time you're like, oh, this is like what I'm really good at? I mean, obviously you're a very scheduled and organized person. Seems like you kind of have to be, especially with QR codes for your kids. Did it all just sort of like where Steven and Chelsea are like, oh, she's really good at this, we need her to do more of this?
I'm not exactly sure how it happened. It was kind of a slow fade, but I will say this, that other people noticed it before I did. And I was just kind of the yes girl. Like, I loved working with them. I loved working. It's almost like you get paid to be in a mastermind, So like any opportunity, I was like, yes, I will do that. I will figure it out and then use it in my own business. Right. So, they kind of started noticing that a little earlier on, and I'm not even really sure what started it. But we started with so we had live challenges, then we're going to do like this evergreen model. So for that, we needed like a chat buddy, like real life person system. And we called them breakthrough buddies. And so it was like, hey, we want to start this team. You want to help us out? I'm like, yeah. And so got started on that. And then Steven's like, hey, we kind of want to build another team. Do you want to help structure and build this other team? I'm like, yeah. So started doing that. And then it was kind of like, hey, so like, how about if we build more teams? You just want to be like a team builder? I was like, yeah. So started just like kind of developing a structure for like how to start teams and like etiquette and like all the things early on, and then kind of manning those teams and coaching, and also doing the things that those teams did, like taking calls and stuff like that. And then I slowly kind of like faded out of the boots on the ground thing, and more of like okay, let's put together a system for this team and serve them in that way. And then in doing that, between coaching and like leading these teams and taking calls and all that stuff, I found that requests and issues and fires were coming at me like paintballs, and I was like, oh, I don't even know like which one to try to block right now. And so I was required to submit tickets to our third-party marketing team, which I loathed. And because it like slowed me down, I'm like, it's so much easier for me to send you a Slack message and be like, dude, I need this. But he's like, no, there's a system. And I'm like, that kind of sucks for me. So I went into monday.com and I created like a free account, and I duplicated their ticketing system so that when my team had an issue, they brought it to me in a ticket. And if I couldn't fix it, it was just a matter of copy and paste to get it on over there. So that was kind of my save myself situation. But in that, I was able to create an environment where things were coming in prioritized. So I could go to bed if all the red and orange stuff was done. The blue and green stuff, like, that's fine until tomorrow. Yeah. So I was like, oh, there's something to this. And so I started kind of like picking the brains of other operations people. And I realized how essential it is to have a task management system, because Slack just don't cut it. So I kind of like started teasing visionary with this idea of like, hey, task management system, what do you think? And he was kind of like, yeah, I don't know. And so we finally got to this place where I was like, look, we got a challenge coming up, let's try it out. So we did, for like me and him and his EA. And I think we had one other person that was kind of helping pick apart some tasks for the challenge, which is a huge beast for 4 people to handle. And it just became obvious how essential Monday.com was. And so then it turned into like, let's get everybody on Monday.com, which turned into, we need an org chart, which turned into, and then it just kind of happened. And then on Christmas Eve, I got a package in the mail from Stephen and Chelsea, and it was the book Rocket Fuel. And I had already read half of it, ironically. But and then they sent me like a sweet little note and like a necklace in a box, like a proposal, like, will you be our integrator? Check yes or no. It was the sweetest thing ever.
Oh.
So that was kind of like the official moment. Yeah. But that there was just a lot of like, see the need, feel the need up until that point.
And fill the need well, apparently.
I really like that story. It's something we see a lot in these small startups. Is it's more of the organic takeover of, you're starting small and you're proving your worth over time, and eventually one day they're just like, all right, Kimberly's in charge now. And, it's not like you think of bigger companies where it's like we're headhunting an integrator, an operations person, we're hiring for it. It's like, all these companies start from the bottom up, and a lot of the big roles you see getting filled at the beginning are people from the bottom up. And it's really cool. We see that probably most of the people we're going to interview, not many of them actually started working with the people they're with now from the top. They've all started lower.
I think it's my favorite thing about getting to work with these smaller startups is just seeing like people realize what they're capable of, get out of their own way, and just like excel. Because especially like in the time of like technology, like we have like so many tools, cool tools at our fingertips that just like help us like Monday. Like I love what you've done in Monday, and seeing what you've done to the L10 format within Monday, and just knowing like how customizable things are. And yeah, that's I love going through your Monday boards.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Savannah, because it took a little persuading to get Aaron over to Monday for L10s. He was a little unsure about moving away from the sheets, but now that we're there, and I think one day I was sick and I was like, Aaron, can you drive this thing for me? He's like, in Monday? I don't know, but he did. He did a great job.
That just goes to show,
Monday
like,
for L10s.
it's about being flexible in where your team is at, what your team uses, and what you're used to. Like Google, the reason we use Google Sheets is just because it's so ubiquitous. Is that the right word? I mean, everybody has a Google account and they're easy to use. But if your team doesn't use Google, they use Monday, then like a good ops person goes, okay, this is how my team works, and this is how I can make it more efficient for them. I'm not going to just go in and make it more difficult for them, because that's just how it's supposed to be done. So I think that's a good, I think it's a good flexibility on your part to say, hey, this is how we do it. And this is, I'm the ops leader now. So that's the decision that's made.
I don't know. I might have failed him a smidge on that, because everybody was fine operating from Slack, and I was like,
They're fine operating from Slack, but they're not fine. Like, I think as more growth happens, I think this most recent challenge would have made that very clear if people were just trying to do things in Slack.
Yeah.
So what would you say, Kimberly, has been the biggest hurdle in the learning process in your position, or maybe even when you first started with Rainmakers, that has been like the most difficult thing to get over, but once you got over it, it was like, oh my God.
Well, I don't know that I'm on the other side of the mountain yet. I think I'm still kind of like in the climb on this one, but definitely confidence. Like Taryn said, you start out as a challenger, and now you're like every day meeting with CEO and like hashing out plans for the thing, and like, how do we make your visions happen and coordinate that with the people. And it was kind of like this, I don't know. There's definitely like one side of you grows really fast and the other side is just trying to keep up. It's like little kids, they grow so fast that you buy them the slim jeans and they're still too short because they're too tall this way and they're not big enough that way. So that's kind of how I felt in my roles. Like I was definitely growing in one direction, but not enough in the other to buy a pair of jeans that fit, you know? So it just kind of felt like the confidence, like gaining confidence and like really, because I came into this place like really leaning more on my gut and my gifting that other people were seeing in me and like kind of pulling to the surface than any kind of real life experience doing this thing. I'm a mom. Like, yeah, there's some operations involved in that, but I don't like you guys. I had to learn how to use Facebook in 2020 for real. Like I started having babies when I was 18 and I looked up and a decade went by and I didn't know how to use technology or anything. And so there was a lot of like, I guess just feeling like I don't know if I don't know. Like you always kind of feel like there's someone out there probably better for the job, you know? And so there's always that thing. And then I just had this habit of kind of shying back when I felt internally like I should stand up strong on something. And in hindsight, I shouldn't have let that fear kind of dictate whether or not I spoke up about something. You know, it's okay if you get a no or a little pushback. It's actually healthy for a team to be able to do that. So, but I didn't understand that at the time. I just was kind of the yes girl still, like, but inside I'm like, snowball alert, like, is anyone else seeing this? You know, but on the outside, I'm like, yes, you know, the polite Zoom nod. So I just think that it's still something that I'm working on and like kind of being able to come out of my shell, even if Visionary's not on board, which is so hard because I love them and have mad respect for them. They're like a celebrity. And I'm like, it's just hard to push back, you know, but I have, and they actually really appreciated it. And so that was a big moment of just like growth in our relationship together when they're like, hey, thanks for pushing back. I mean, we're still going to do it this way, but thanks. And I was like, okay, cool. And then something that Aaron's taught me that I have to like put on repeat in my mind is like, even if there's something I feel like really needs to come out and like we need to have a conversation about the thing, and Visionary is like, no, we're going to go this way with it. And you know, ultimately, like that's the deciding factor. But if the decision if it goes sour, you know, despite any like warnings or like data presented, it's still a win because we've gone to like the next level in our relationship as visionary integrator combo, because we developed that new level of trust. If, you know, there was a warning about something and they go another way and then it kind of goes sour, it's almost like, oh, okay, next time we're going to really kind of dig into these numbers a little bit more. And, you know, so yeah, just confidence in, even though I didn't have experience, I had you guys.
I think a lot of that speaks to just how quickly your skills grow when you're new at something. It's like if your skills are growing so quickly because you're just doing, there's a part of you that's still behind that's going like, I don't know. For me, it's like I always felt like sort of imposter syndrome. Like I know I can do all these things, but the other half of me is going, wait, you don't know how to do that. I'm like, wait, yes, I do. I just learned how to do that last week. So it's like your skills are going quickly, but the rest of you is like trying to keep up with your skills. So you're always like, can I do this? Is there somebody better? So I totally get where you're coming from. I used to call myself at my last job the no man, because that was sort of my role as operations. Was like the visionary would come and be like, can we do this? And be like, no. No. All right, we'll try something else. But I mean, like you said, a lot of that just came from so many opportunities of like, he would come in, can we do this? I'd be like, I don't think so. Do it anyways, fails. Do it anyways, fails. And then finally he'd be like, can we do this? I'd be like, no. And he'd be like, okay, we're not going to do that. But that takes a lot of time to build up that relationship too, like you said.
It is interesting too, like the labels that we put on ourselves that kind of like hold us back. Like you're like, I'm just a mom, and it's like, okay, but like look at everything that you're capable of, and then also like you had a lot of kids in a short amount of time, which takes like so much mental math and gymnastics, literally and figuratively. Like it definitely prepares you in a certain way. And I know that I have in my head like because I've worked at Walmart, I have just like Walmart customer service just always hanging out in the back of my head, where it's like, what are you doing? You're just a Walmart employee. Like, what are you telling people what to do? And even though that was like some of the best training I ever had, but still, like, you know, you put these labels that kind of like disqualifies you before you even open your mouth. And we just gotta shut up and believe in ourselves.
So
Mhm.
then on the flip side, Kimberly, what would you say has been the biggest win, the most positive moment or learning experience you've gotten out of working with Rainmaker so far?
Okay. So this one's for Taryn and for everyone else out there, like Taryn, which is all like probably 3 people in the universe, but I just feel like back to kind of the gut and the gifting. Like when I first started the integrator journey, it was like this unofficial role, and it felt so, like you said, Savannah, it was almost like I didn't have the title. No one asked me to do this, but here I come anyway, with my checklist and my Monday board. And it almost felt like people don't like me, but I had this inner like gut feeling, and there were some people like cheering me along on the sidelines, like, hey, this is good. Like, keep doing this. This is helping. And I'm like, okay, and so I kept stumbling on those ideas and opportunities to systemize things and like build processes out for the team. And so like Taryn, I documented everything I could, like as fast as it was coming at me. I still was like, okay, I'm going to SOP this. Okay, I'm going to document this. And I made myself a toolbox in Monday, and I just started collecting these little pieces that at the time felt like, honestly, I wondered if I was misusing that precious time, because but I did it anyway. And I can't tell you how often it's happened. Me and Aaron were actually just talking about this Tuesday. I can't tell you how often it's happened that a need arises, and I'm like, wait a second. Oh, we have that. Let me go grab that SOP. And it's like, at that moment, I would not have been able to like, hold on, pause L10. I'll be back in 3 hours with the thing, And so it's just so nice to be able to like whip it out the toolbox. And it's like screwdriver for you, flathead for you, and like just like really be able to supply my team what they needed to rock it. So I think that yeah, I try to remind myself of the times that gut and gifting has served our teams well. And that helps me kind of like build a muscle memory to do the thing when I'm tempted to like be like, no, I don't have time, or it just feels like super awkward. Like, I don't know whether or not I should do this stuff now, or people are going to think I'm just being a bossy tail. But one thing I did learn is that far down the road kind of turns into yesterday before you know it. It's like, you put those hand-me-downs up in the top of their closet and you think they'll never be a 5T. And it's like 3 weeks and you need the 5T clothes. It's the same thing.
Oh, that's so true. That's so true. What would you, here's one for you. What would you, as an ops person who's well established now in an online community, what would be a piece of advice you give somebody who's just coming in to the online entrepreneur world and is maybe as an ops person or even like an EA who, like myself, when I first started with Collab Team, I was like, what is this weird world that you guys work inside? What would be some advice that you would give somebody like me who's trying to come in and just get my feet wet in it?
I like to
Well, I
think
don't
of
know,
it
Ben.
also like what would you tell yourself? What advice would you give yourself?
True.
Like when you started too, you can think of it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, Ben, that wasn't one of my 3 questions on my calendar invites. I don't have anything for you. No, just kidding. What would I tell myself? Let's see. I would sit her down with a cup of coffee and an ember mug, because that's gonna get cold. And I would let her know that she can. If you can do all these other things, you have a skill of figuring stuff out and serving people and being a solutionary. I love how you call yourselves solution specialists. I'm like, yes, they are. And if you can do that, like if you can have 4 babies and nurse toddlers and like, keep them alive for 15 years, you can do this thing. And I think, like Savannah was saying, so many times we put like labels and restrictions on ourselves that I think some of it is like a little false humility for being real, right? Some of it might be a little, but I think a lot of it is that forgive me, but we're lazy. It's so much easier to cop out with a big fat I can't.
Yeah.
Well, I can't do that.
Mhm.
You know, let me go ask Taryn because he knows Zapier better than I do. You know, I can't do that. And while Taryn is exponentially better at Zapier stuff than I am, I can. And if it's, you know, in the weekend, like 6 p.m. on a Saturday, I know he's on his motorcycle or next to a lake somewhere, and I can't just tap into Taryn. So I need to go find me some big girl britches and get in Zapier, roll my sleeves up, and figure that thing out. And it may take me an hour to do something that took Taryn 5 minutes to do, or riding a horse. Yes, it's riding something. So yeah, if it could take me an hour to figure out something, what I've done in that hour is solved a problem and learned a new skill, and most likely created another SOP so I never have to go in Zapier again.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would be a long conversation with this girl, and it would be like the core of the conversation, the heart of it would be, quit being lazy, fool. Like, you can do this. Quit hiding behind, I can't. And you know, and also there's other stuff we hide behind too. I don't know how many moms are like hearing the thing, but a lot of moms will claim, I'm talking about myself, so I can be like super mean right now. A lot of moms will claim that they're doing the best for their family, or that I just want to like give all my time to my kids and things like that. But let me tell you something. I've been a way better mom since I had this outlet for my crazy than before. Like, can you imagine? Just take a moment and imagine what it looks like when you have an ops brain and a bunch of little toddlers. Like, there ain't a chore chart on this planet that is going to satisfy and scratch that itch. I'm just saying. And I've got some pretty ones, but it's just like having that outlet to like that sandbox to play in, to like go crazy in an area where people really appreciate it. And I get paid to do it. Then when I do punch the clock, when I do come away from the computer, when I close the laptop, when I go to the park, I am so filled. I am filled up. I'm happy. I'm not like, if you saw me in January of 2020, I was kind of like the ragged out crunchy mom with a bunch of little kids and like them till they're 12. And like, it was just, you know, like the kids and just that. And now I feel like I'm not kind of living in this constant state of like victim mode and life happening to me and hiding behind what I'm saying is a better cause. And when I got off my lazy bum and I actually like started to serve others with my gifts and not hide behind things that were easy to hide behind, then I did. And Dustin said 1,000 times, like, the growth that I've had, like personal growth that I've had in this year has helped our relationship. I'm a better wife now because, I mean, you guys are married. Like, are you married to ops ladies or like normal people? No, don't just don't say it. I mean, like, can you imagine? Like, so poor Dustin's like, yeah, this is really good for us, you know. And
you
so
have something to go other than me.
I should know the answer to that because you probably wouldn't have done that to yourselves. So Travis here.
That's so great. And one thing you said too really stands out, and Taryn, correct me if I'm wrong, but you didn't go to a 4-year university of Zapier, right? That was all just self-taught. And it really, it's exactly how it started.
I went to college twice, okay, and one of them I paid for, but yeah, I went for architectural design, which is kind of hilarious. And it's like the same things that drew me to that and like drew me to drafting. I didn't love shop class for the reason that some students love shop class. I really genuinely love drafting. And those same, like that same pull and like, I don't know, just refreshment that I got from doing that sort of stuff is the same thing I'm doing here every single day. I build a home, I build businesses, I build systems and processes and serve people, and I absolutely love it. Now, I can't drive downtown and be like, yep, that was me. But I do feel like so fulfilled at the end of the day when I can walk away because, you know, this team has a clean SOP that they can use. And now Visionaries not having to do that same task over and over again, and he can focus on our growth. And that is a day's work well done.
Love it. I love it. And
Yeah.
that is a great spot to end today's Ops Experts Club with Kimberly at Rainmakers. Kimberly, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's
So
been
glad
a-
we got to see you again.
I guess this is where
Yeah.
we invite everybody to join us again next week for our next Ops Experts Club in the land of Facebook.
Mhm. And if you're wondering when, it's going to be at the same time.
Same time,
Same time, same
different place.
Oh.
Thanks, guys.